In this set of videos, we're going to continue our tour through the tidyverse by focusing on dplyr. Dplyr is all about data manipulation. We'll start with dplyr's functions on row manipulation, and then we'll move into group operations, column manipulation where we're creating new features, new variables, and lastly we'll talk about some relational aspects of datasets, how we can use dplyr's tools to combine datasets together into one larger dataset, and finally we'll stop with some related packages. As a basic introduction to dplyr, along with ggplot2, dplyr is the flagship package of the tidyverse. While ggplot2 is really for statistical graphics, the whole point of dplyr is to be able to manipulate data. This is usually somewhere in the middle part of the data science workflow, after you've imported the data, but before you've really started making visualizations or trying to model the data. dplyr's functions generally fall within three classes. The first class is row manipulation. In other contexts, rows get different names, so the rows of the dataset, since they're observations, may be called cases or records, and the functions associated with those that we want to know about are things like filter, slice, and so on. Next is column manipulation. Columns very frequently also go under the name of fields, and the functions that we want to know about there are things like select, mutate, summarize, and so on, are very powerful tools that we can bring to bear to create new columns and summarize the columns that we already have in really convenient ways. It's also really useful for cleaning data. Lastly, we'll talk about merging datasets. You can think about this as either gluing datasets together top to bottom or side to side, or matching the cases in two different datasets together into one larger dataset, with the idea being that the larger dataset is more powerful for whatever your end use is for the dataset. Our studio has created a great cheat sheet for data transformation with dplyr that goes over many of the things that we'll talk about in the sequence of videos. However, I'd like to issue a warning at the very beginning. This is a little bit dated. The dplyr package version 1.0.0 is scheduled for release on May 15th of 2020. These slides, I've tried to update them for this newest version of dplyr, but the cheat sheet has not yet been updated. So it's good to have handy while you're trying to master the verbs of dplyr, but do know that some of those are a little bit dated, and I would imagine that the cheat sheet itself is going to get a refresh shortly after that release. So stay tuned.